Check out this nice succulent that I potted up. Looks nice. All right. What's poppin', people? It's Dante. Today's thought: why should you start street photography in 2025? I think this is an interesting question because, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see. There's a lot to explore. And there's a lot to photograph in our lives of ours. And I think the best place to be and the best time to start is right now in reality. I think the best time is now, for anything. If you want to start a YouTube channel, if you want to start making pictures, if you want to start writing, reading, doing anything productive, which is the act of creation, the best time is now. And the reason why is because there is no outcome, there is no goal, there is no thing that you need to strive to become or to do, but doing the thing itself. And I find meaning in the process of making pictures, despite me practicing photography for over a decade now. I still find myself pushing the boundaries, challenging myself, and trying new things. And that to me is where I want to be endlessly. And for you to be somebody watching this video that may just be getting started in photography is something that I am so jealous of. There's something infinitely curious in an amateur photographer and somebody who's just beginning. And I find that my goal is to return to that state of being each and every day. And so if you're watching this and you haven't picked up a camera and you haven't really put too much thought into whether or not you want to start street photography, or maybe you want to take the leap and just start hitting the streets and learn about this thing, just start. Because honestly, there is so many new ways to make pictures now. We have so many new cameras, we have so many new opportunities with technology. Things are becoming a lot more easy. All you really need is your iPhone, an iPad. For me, I like the Ricoh GR. I like to make pictures in a very simplified way, shooting JPEGs, having the processing, everything sort of just baked into my file. I think that if you were to come into photography right now and start making pictures, it would be pretty much the easiest time to do so, due to the fact that we have, so much great technology that allows for photography to just be a lot more easy. Which I think is a good thing, because we get caught up with cameras, lenses, we get caught up with the technicalities of learning the shutter speed, aperture, ISO, all the fundamentals in photography, and I think that's okay. We all want to learn the basics, but as a street photographer, you really don't need to learn this shit. That's kind of the beauty of it. You really don't you just don't need to. And so if you wanted to get into street photography today, what a better time to start. I'll never forget, the first photos that I've made on the streets, I look back and this is one of the first successful pictures that I've made on the streets of Baltimore, these two pictures specifically. And both of these photographs I've made using program mode, point and shoot autofocus on a Ricoh GR2 in 2016. I just put the camera in the automatic function mode, right? And I'm emphasizing that because you don't need to be this technical master of photography to create something impactful or compelling. All you really need is curiosity, courage, and intuition. These three traits are what we must tap into to become better street photographers. But when I think about starting today and the sort of intimidation of learning the technicalities, learning about the history of photography, trying to sort of imitate or copy from the masters to sort of build your foundation, and then building upon that, that can be a part of the process. But I think the best place to be is in that state of curiosity, where everything is fresh and everything is new. And so if I were to encourage you to hit the streets with the camera today, I would say just let the chips fall as they may and embrace the spirit of play. If you want to go out there and explore the world and you have curiosity within you, bring the camera for the ride and just live your life and make photographs of the things that you find that pique your inner curiosity. Don't think too much about the outcome. Don't dwell too much on whether or not the photos you make are good or bad, or whether or not you're making progress. I think it's good to photograph for a year, to then reflect on the images, make a sketchbook, put them on the wall. I still have all my photos on the wall from my years of travel, and I still look at them and learn from them to this day. And I think this is an important part of the process so that you can learn and grow. But I think the best place to be is in flow. We want to strive for that sort of flow state as photographers, where we remain in the present moment and we find gratitude through the practice. This to me is how I view my everyday photography. If you want to get started with photography, simply treat it as life affirmation. Treat it as a way for you to say yes to the day, yes to life, to find meaning in the mundane. If you have something that has you waking up in the morning that you're passionate about, that if you were to pass away tonight in your sleep, that at least you contributed to something greater than yourself. For me, the act of making pictures provides me this. And that thing itself will live beyond me, beyond death. Well, then I find that life becomes full of meaning. You couldn't live forever, right? We can't live forever, but at least we can make a photograph. And so when you find your why, when you find that thing that makes you wake up in the morning with a smile, simply grateful for the day, embrace that and play and find meaning in these things. And through that act of making pictures, through that act of discovery and wandering and exploring your town, wherever you may be. The beauty of street photography is that you don't need to be in a city. You can be in a rural village. You can be somewhere up in the mountains. It's not necessarily something that has to be done in an urban center. Street photography is merely an ethos. It's about being a flaneur, being somebody who likes to wander without any preconceived notions of what they will find, and photographing everyday life, particularly humanity. But there's so much about photography, and especially in street photography, that I believe we can still push the boundaries within, where a lot of pictures that have been made in the realm of street photography are very obvious, very factual, very documentarian. But going forward, I think the photographer that plays, that tinkers, that isn't trying to take things so seriously and make things so perfectly, will actually be the photographer that makes something more interesting. And so for you to get started in street photography today, I say embrace imperfection. Embrace the fact that you don't know much about the photography genre, or about street photography, this genre of photography, right? Embrace the fact that you don't know too much about the camera. Embrace the fact that you don't know what's out there, what's been done. I think, when you photograph from that pure state, that sort of autotelic way of making pictures in the spirit of play, where you simply do things for the sake of doing things because you love to do this thing. That is where the most authentic expression of the artist will be found. And for you to be getting started in street photography today is the perfect place to be. I would kill to go back into your shoes if you're watching this video and you're just getting started. I think that is the best place to be, because there's just infinite potential, there's infinite growth, there's infinite possibility when you're getting started. And honestly, even after a decade of shooting, I feel like I'm still just getting started. That's the beauty of this thing. And, oh man, when I think about all the stories I have and all the experiences and the places I've been, I started street photography here in my hometown, Philadelphia. I studied in Baltimore, so I explored the streets of West Baltimore. I learned to practice street photography in West Baltimore. This was a challenge to overcome. And through throwing yourself into the unknown, into the chaos, and embracing danger and going forward into the unknown, you learn not only about the world around you, but about yourself and how you engage with humanity. Because ultimately, photography, it has nothing to do with photography, but photography has everything to do with how you engage with life, how you engage with humanity. And that's what reflects in the photographs you make. And so by exploring the streets of Baltimore and engaging with people and learning about this new place, I discovered new things that allowed me to then travel to Israel and Palestine with courage at the forefront, photographing conflict and sleeping on the floors of mosques, volunteering on a kibbutz and milking cows for a month. I've spent time walking the streets of Napoli with my brother, bathing along the rocks at the Mediterranean Sea, enjoying watermelon and photographing. I've spent time walking through the alleyways of Mumbai, India, just because. No reason, no destinations. I just book a hotel and I go. I think that's the beauty of photography. It allows you to simply explore for the sake of exploration. Where I find that through going out there into the world and, just exploring openly without really thinking and simply doing, you find meaning in life, you find joy. And I find if you are watching this video and you're just getting started and you're wondering if you should start practicing photography, I think photography, for me personally, what I can share with you candidly, is simply something that provides me with so much joy in life. I find so much joy in the act of walking, exploring, meeting new people, traveling to new places, or even walking this same mundane lane every single day here in my hometown, Philadelphia. where I go out into the streets and I see the same people, I see the same gestures, the same moments over and over again, the same backdrops. But there's something so special about wielding the camera, where when you wield the camera and you observe and you simply notice things, the most mundane situations, the most mundane things become extraordinary when you uplift them in a photograph. And so when you're out there in the world with your camera, it's like a superpower, where it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, you can find meaning in life. You can find joy. You can find a way to play through the day, not taking yourself so seriously. And I think this is why I believe you should start photography today. Despite the outcome of the photographs you make, despite what your goals are and what you're striving for, just practice street photography because you love life. Ultimately, the goal of the photographer is to simply fall in love with life each day, to wake up with curiosity, with inspiration to explore the world. And so for me, that's my goal. I wake up at dawn these days because I'm just eager for the sunrise. Why am I eager for the sunrise? Because the light is going to peer through my eyes. The light is going to cast upon the world in front of me and provide me with the ability to make photographs. Like, I really do find such infinite meaning in the world and infinite meaning in life, infinite meaning in the mundane because of photography. And so if you want to start street photography today, there's never been a better time. I highly recommend some practical tips and advice if you are to be somebody who wants to start photography today. Don't use Instagram. Don't even really share your photos on any of these social platforms. If anything, just make a YouTube channel and you can post your photos in slideshows. I prefer to post my photos on my own website. So I use wordpress.org and bluehost.com to host my first name and last name. And I made a blog so that each day when I come home and cull through my photos, I can simply publish them and move on. And I think the best place to be as a photographer is to photograph in a way that is pure, where you're not giving yourself these metrics of likes and comments. I honestly disable likes and comments on my YouTube because I want everything that I create to be just from a purely inspired state, where I'm making these videos, I'm making my photos for just myself and one other person, really. So I suggest making your own website to publish your photos there. If you're just getting started, you don't need to share them in a way that is looking for virality or sort of validation from your peers. Just publish to your own website. Start a YouTube channel. If you want to make a presence online, I would say YouTube is the best option. And yeah, just get started. I think it's such a beautiful thing. Life is so beautiful. Life is so meaningful. The world is open. There's so much to do, to see, to explore, to photograph. And these thoughts and these ideas flow through me because of photography. And because photography provides me with so much joy in life, I wanted to turn my camera on and simply make a quick video to share these words with you, to hopefully influence you to go out there and to hit the streets, to walk, to wander, to photograph, and to explore. And so thank you for watching today's video. If this video inspired you, there's more on my YouTube channel. There's more on my website, dantesisifo.com, youtube.com/street photography. You can find more information about my photography. I also do videos where I teach you about my techniques and how I approach this thing. So if you're looking to improve, that's kind of my goal. This YouTube channel is mostly geared towards people that are looking for inspiration in their photography, people that are looking to cultivate more joy in their life, people that are looking to improve, to find progress in their photography through the act of exploring, through the act of making pictures, and through the act of following your joy. I think that's my mission with this YouTube. That's my mission with my blogs, is I'm trying to use photography as a way to fuel my love for life and share that with others. And then through that, maybe, just maybe, together we can find more joy and more meaning in life through photography. I think that's where my mission and my target audience is right now. And so if you're watching that, yeah, stay tuned for more videos, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.